So, my cousin just wrecked my car for a joyride, and his parents are saying, "Hey, I know it was a mistake, but just let it be. You don't want to ruin this kid's life." Okay, well, let me explain to you. This was not exactly my vehicle. It was someone else, someone very important. And when the insurance company came calling, you won't believe what my cousin says. If there's one thing that I honestly believe with every single fiber of my being, it is that family is everything. Heaven only knows where I would be without my family. I never knew my father. For the first 12 years of my life, it had always been my mom and I. My mother was a woman who literally gave it all for her family. She taught me that no one was more important than your own blood, and nothing was more important than letting them know how much you love and value them. When she died, her sister Riley and her husband Gary took me in. Even though they were just a recently married with a fussy toddler, they did not think twice about taking in a grieving 12-year-old. They did not hesitate to take me as their own and give me not just a roof over my head, but also a home to call mine. Not once did they complain about how much it cost to take care of me or pay for my education without them needing to tell me. I knew I owed them everything. And so I made it my life goal to show them just how much of a grateful person I am for the sacrifices that they've made for me. Not to brag, but I've always been blessed with brains. And there's one thing my mother instilled in me before she died. It's the spirit of discipline and hard work. With these virtues, success came easy for me even before I graduated from university. In my second year in school, I interned at a major law firm inside of the city. By the time I was graduating, I was retained, and 2 years later, I was promised and made a junior partner. But being made partner means being paid more money. Aunt Riley and Uncle Gary were over the moon with the happiness. At that time, I didn't know that it was more because of what it would mean for them than what it meant for me. Even though I could have lived in any house that I wished, I continued to live with them. After all, we were one big family, and living with them made it easier to take care of. Even before I was made a partner, I often bought them gifts. A dress that caught Aunt Riley's fancy, a new golf club that Uncle Gary swore would make pudding a breeze, giving Daryl, my cousin, money to get the latest video game. And one day they complained about how shabby the house was looking. And the next day, I got an interior designer to come give the house a brand new look. I made it clear that my money was theirs and they were family. And after doing so much for me, I did not feel like it would cost me anything to try to do the same thing for them. I just was not expecting them to literally take it overboard. After I was made a partner, it was like they suddenly became incapable of carrying any financial load. Aunt Riley and Uncle Gary suddenly realized that Daryl's school was not good enough, and they wanted him to go to a better, in other words, more posh school. I supported their decision because Daryl's their child, and if they realized that the school he was going to is not good enough, okay, what I had not been expecting was for them to ask me to foot half of the tuition fee. They were alike, they could not only afford half, and my paying the other half was my way of ensuring that Daryl gets the best education. Though they did not say it, I could literally read the quote just like we did for you in their eyes. So I started paying half of Daryl's tuition fees, and after that came the bills. Electricity bills, water bills, gas bills, interweb bills, TV bills, phone bills. When I asked what happened to Uncle Gary's job since he had suddenly become incapable of paying anything, they said, "We're pouring all of our money into Daryl's education. We don't ask you for much, so please go ahead and pay for the bills." So yeah, I started paying all the bills inside of the house. This did not mean that the random buying of gifts even stopped. Oh no. Quite the opposite, actually. Well, even if I entertained the thought of stopping, my aunt and uncle would resurrect it when they showed me their new favorite item in a catalog. All in all, I did not mind. Not really, at least until it started happening. The first time it happened, I had been in a meeting when I received a debit notification of over $100. I immediately checked my purse and, much to my surprise, found out that my debit card was missing. I immediately knew. Well, I knew right away it was Daryl. Andre Ailey and Uncle Gary would not stoop as low as stealing. They would just shamelessly ask me for my card. It could only be Daryl. So, when I got home, I confronted him and asked him if he had used my card. The guy was unbelievably nonchalant about it. He told me to chill, that it was his mother who gave the card to him, and told him that he could use it to buy whatever he wanted. So, of course, I just knew it was a lie. As I said, Aunt Riley was too shameless to resort to stealing, but I didn't bother to ask her about it. I felt there was no need. After all, I knew what her stance would be. We're one big family. What is yours is yours. Perhaps I was naive to assume that would be the last time he would do that. I don't know how in God's name he came to know my pen. Even when I reset it, he still figured it out. When I started hiding my debit card in my phone pouch, he went for the house credit card. Actually, the credit card is in my name, but I got it for the family to use on important items, not teenage impulses. And every single time that I asked him how he got his hands on it, he said the same thing. His mom or his dad gave it to him to use as he would because, quote, I would not mind. What do you mean I would not mind? What the hell did they mean by I would not mind? How could I not mind his reckless and wasteful spending? For goodness sake. Just yesterday, the boy threw a party and bought every drink and food and game on my bill, mine. And this was not the first time he was doing it. I felt terrible for coming here to admit this. But I'm tired of this. And while I know that I should talk with Aunt Riley and Uncle Gary, I don't want to confront them. A part of me is like, after everything that they've done for me, and during Daryl's wasteful spending, should not be much to do. After all, he's a teenager, and everybody knows that teenagers are always stupid, while the other part is seething and raging and wanting to tear them all into pieces. I don't know what to do. I need your advice, guys. Do you think that I should sit my aunt and my uncle down and talk to them about Daryl's excessive spending, or should I just endure it all? After all, they are my family, aren't they? Update number 1. It's been 3 days. Hey everyone, you're not going to believe what happened today. Even though many of you advise that I have to have an honest-to-goodness conversation with Aunt Riley and Uncle Gary, I couldn't do it. I could not bring myself to disappointing two people who have sacrificed so much for me. As silly as it sounds, complaining about Daryl's spending to them when they were never once tight-fisted towards me felt like a betrayal. I was determined to swallow my frustration and go on as it had always been until this evening happened. I was still at work this evening when I received a notification of a transaction for over $1,000 on my credit card. I saw red, guys. I got so mad that I could not continue working. Instead, I grabbed my car keys and called my aunt asking, demanding where Daryl was. She claimed not to know where exactly he was, only that he went to hang out with some friends. That did not deter me. Instead, I drove home chasing to wait for him to get back. Later on, as soon as he walked into the living room, I lit into him. I asked him to hand me back my credit card and demanded to know what he had used to buy. Oh, guess you guys will not believe what he said to me. He said, and I quote, I don't know. Me and my guys bought a couple of things, paid for a couple of games. We didn't spend that much. I don't know why, but the last statement made me snap. What the hell did he mean he didn't spend much? He flipped $1,000 and he didn't spend much. What then? What constitutes too much then? I literally lost it and started shouting at him. I told him that if he was able to spend $1,000 in one sitting, then he should also be able to pay for it. Aunt Riley and Uncle Gary walked in and demanded to know what's going on. When I explained what had happened, they were like, it was just $1,000. And that was no reason to shout at Daryl, and Daryl was just a kid. I was so baffled, guys. $1,000. Yeah, only they should provide it then. They should bring out the money and pay for it for their son. I mean, can you imagine? Even though everything within me wanted to snap at them, I dredged up a calm that I was fat from feeling and told them simply that I would not be paying for it. And just like that, a war broke out. Aunt Riley and Uncle Gary started to shout at me. They called me ungrateful, selfish, and stingy. They accused me of repaying their goodness with wickedness, of only thinking about myself. They were like, it's not like I wasn't earning way more than that. I'll confess that I also lost it and started shouting back at them. A lot of hurtful words were eventually exchanged, and I ended up storming into my room in anger. It's been a few minutes and I'm already riddled with regret. I'm confused about what to do. Some part of me wonders if I overreacted. Perhaps I should have just paid it off. But was I wrong in demanding that Daryl work and relay the money he spent? He couldn't even account for the money. Oh, pickles. What do I do? Update number 2, guys. It's been exactly 2 days. Hey. So 2 days since that fiasco, where my aunt and uncle accused me of being selfish and ungrateful. And in those 2 days, my aunt and uncle have not said one word to me. There could have also been a thick wall of division between us, with the way that they have been avoiding and ignoring me. Their actions hurt me more than words can ever express. To think that they would stoop so low to give me the silent treatment, all because I refused to pay for the reckless action of their son. They could have as well have drawn a battle line and stated that it was them and Daryl against me. I admit that I, perhaps in making a mountain out of a molehill. After all, they took me in when they could have refused to. They gave me a normal life full of love when they could have treated me no better than a dog. Not once did they make it seem like, well, on one side it was them and Daryl, and then on the other there was me. Until now. Now we have a side, and it's been picked. They picked Daryl over me. I kept replaying their words in my head. They claimed that they gave me free access to their money, and I should do the same for Daryl. First of all, there was no comparison between my situation and Daryl's. It wasn't like there was an abundance of money for me to blow through. It wasn't like I ever spent their money on a frivolous thing. It wasn't like I was an irresponsible spender. The issue is not the $1,000 that he spent. No, not exactly. It's about the fact that they did not want him to take responsibility for his actions. It's about the fact that they're either not seeing or they don't care about his reckless spending. Which, by the way, is out of control. I mean, come on. How can a child spend $1,000 in one evening and only thing that he can say it's for is what? I don't know that I could afford it. Their claim that I'm selfish, repaying their goodness with wickedness. Oh man. Suddenly, because I won't pay for an unnecessary expense, I've become a tight-fisted person. All the days of sorting their bills and paying for every little thing that caught their fancy have suddenly been erased from their memory. I've come to a decision. I'll pay off the debt. It's not worth having this rift in my family. Over. But things will never be the same between the 4 of us. I know Aunt Riley and Uncle Gary will start speaking to me again, because all has become right again in their world. I know they would expect me to move on from this little misunderstanding, but it's not going to be easy. At my heart, a line of division has already separated us, and I don't know how to remove it. In all honesty, I'm not sure if I want to erase that line. Anyways, update number 3. 5 days later, guys, I'm raging. I'm shaking with anger. I mean, this evening, I came home to an unimaginable wreckage. 3 days ago, my aunt and her husband went on a little trip with her friends. It had been something that she had always wanted to do, taking a road trip with her friends. And after many months of procrastinating, she was finally doing it in time for her first birthday, which was happening in a week. Even though things are still a bit tense between the 4 of us, Aunt Riley and Uncle Gary obviously felt it was safe to leave Daryl in my care. They apparently believed that I would take care of him rather than off him before they came back. And while I haven't done that, I won't exactly claim that I've been looking after him. We've just been keeping it to ourselves. He's aware that I'm no longer on his side like I used to be, and I no longer exactly care what he does at all. If he ramped up debts on the credit card, I simply paid it off without a question. What happened a few days ago has taught me that it's easier that way. Everything's been fine, hunky-dory, and I was convinced that we could both survive his parents' absence. So, can somebody tell me why I came home this evening, to find the Tesla that was just delivered to the house yesterday. Completely bashed to the point of no repair? Now here's the thing that's almost making me lose my mind to anger. I dragged Darrell to the garage and demanded an explanation. You wouldn't believe the thing he said. He was like, "Oh, yeah, he and his friends went out for a joyride and an accident had happened." You should hear the tone of his voice. He could have as well as been talking about the weather, with the bored devil may care way he spoke. Just when I thought my head was going to explode with anger, he told me not to make a fuss about it. The accidents happened all the time, and that the only thing that mattered was that he and his friends came out okay, as if I cared. If they had ended up with broken bones, they would have deserved it. In fact, I wish they all had. Perhaps it would finally shake some sense into their heads, because tell me why he would sneak into the garage and drive a car he had not been permitted to drive. And rather than bringing it back to life, he was returning it bashed and wrecked. I finally had enough. This is the proverbial needle that's broken my camel's back. Once I'm done writing this, I'm going to call his parents. And I'm not just going to report this destruction, but also make it clear that I expected Darrell to pay for the repairs. Well, that is if it can even be salvaged. If I could not repair it, then Darrell was going to work and refund it. I don't care what excuse they were going to make for him. Enough was enough. I only hope that with anger rushing through me, I will not bite their heads off. Update number 4, guys. It's only been a day. You will not believe what happened yesterday when I called Aunt Riley and Uncle Gary to report what had Darrell done. Just like I stated, I called them immediately after I finished writing the previous post. Even though a lot of rage was still burning within me, I did my best to stay calm. As gently as I could, I explained to them that Darrell had stolen the cars from my room, snuck into the garage while I was away, got into my newly bought car, and wrecked it. I made it clear that the car belonged to someone else, and I was only looking after it till the person got back. You would think that would shake a sense of panic into them, and get them to see Darrell as the destructive kid that he was. But do you know what they said? They told me to let him be. He was only a child. Can you imagine that? Not one word about the car even after I told them that the car did not belong to me. I was simply to let Darrell be. In other words, fix it and leave Darrell alone. He's just a kid who doesn't know what he's doing. And I wonder if they'll maintain their stance when they find out who the Tesla actually belongs to. Since the beginning of the year, I've been thinking about what kind of gift to give my aunt for her 40th birthday. Though it's not quite as momentous as a 50th birthday, it was still a huge milestone. Basically, I just want to appreciate her in a grand style for all that she's done for me, and this birthday seems like the perfect opportunity. So about 3 months back, I decided to get her a Tesla. I placed the order asking that it be delivered on the week of her birthday. The fact that she decided to go on a little pre-birth trip made it easier to hide it from her. Guys, I had it all planned out. Aunt Riley and Uncle Gary were set to return the day before her birthday. Obviously, they would see the car and be naturally curious. If they asked, I would tell them that it belonged to a friend who was always on a business trip. Then during her birthday party, I would present it and give a rousing speech on how much she meant to me and how much I loved her and was grateful for us. And now the car is wrecked and they don't even care about it. The only thing they were concerned about was their child not being bothered. After the call, I had what some people call a come to Jesus meeting. Right there, I realized that it was time to leave. Aunt Riley and Uncle Gary will never change. Darrell will continue to be spoiled and continue to destroy things and spend lavishly. And unless I leave, they would keep expecting me to pick up the pieces of their recklessness after them. With me being soft-hearted, I knew I would pick up those pieces. But for how long I would have to until there's nothing left in me to give. Before that time came, I would leave. Update number 5. It's been 4 days. Hello everyone, it's been a roughly 3 to 4 days since my come to Jesus meeting. In those days, you've flooded me with support and advice. and I just want to say that I'm grateful. At first, I wanted to pack up my stuff and move out before Aunt Riley and Uncle Gary came back from their road trip. But after going through the advice most of you sent, I agreed that it would be better and sweeter to leave after Aunt Riley's birthday party, where I would hand her a pretty expensive gift, which her son had wrecked. Call it poetic justice if you may. Perhaps when they see just how much Daryl's destructive behavior can affect them, they'll finally come to their senses. I had someone come over to take a look at the car a few days ago, and even though I already suspected that the damage was irreparable, I still wanted confirmation, Also, leaving after the birthday party would remove every chance for Aunt Riley to turn me into the villain who was abandoning her family over a little accident. After I presented the wrecked gift and gave a rousing speech about how their son wrecked it in their presence of friends and family, there would be no one left to whom they could accuse me, or who would even take their side. So when they came home 2 days ago, I smiled and pretended that everything was all good. When they brought up the car issue, not to ask what was later done, but to ensure that I did not give Daryl grief over it, I told them all was forgotten. Then yesterday, her birthday dawned bright and full of anticipation. I was also full of anticipation, but for a different reason from theirs. Friends and family arrived, and it was soon time for the gift sharing. When it was my turn, I projected a picture of the Tesla before the wreckage and gave a wonderful speech about how I got the Tesla to appreciate her for all that she had done for me. Everybody gasped and started whispering excitedly. Aunt Riley's face was flushed with pleasure. Then I told him that the Tesla was simply unavailable because, well, a little accident happened to it. I called Daryl Ford to present the car to his mom, just as I changed the projection to a picture of the car after the wreckage. You should see the disbelief on everyone's faces. 81 grand gone to a child's reckless and irresponsible action. But then, what can any of us do? He's just a child, right? When Aunt Riley saw it all, she starts begging me, asking me to forgive her and to replace the gift. As if, rather than answering her, I announced that I would be moving out to the house of the next day. They tried to plead with me. They even tried to manipulate me emotionally, but it didn't work. I reminded them that I've been carrying a lot of their financial responsibility out of our gratitude. And while I'll always be grateful for all that they have done for me, it's time to leave. For the sake of my sanity and my finances, if I didn't leave, they were going to run me to the ground. Just in case they did not fully understand what my leaving meant, I made it clear that I was done paying any bills. I've learned that while it's good to love family above everything, everything does not include yourself. I got an apartment the same day, and I've been living free from every one of their interferences. I didn't even bother sending them my new address. If I need to contact them, I know where they live. It's time to face my own life.